Today on the newscast, did Israel's Mossad just break up a major Iranian assassination plot targeting a U.S. general? Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. We've got a story today that I've been wanting to get to for about a week now. A major development on April 30th, a few weeks ago. Reportedly, the Israeli Mossad spy service carried out a daring and very important operation on Iranian soil. Now, their target was a 52-year-old Iranian man named Mansour Rassouli, who is closely affiliated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, that elite terror vanguard of the Iranian regime that answers only to the supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei. The Mossad apparently apprehended this man, Mansour Rassouli, and uncovered a triple assassination plot that he was working on with the Revolutionary Guards Corps, or IRGC for short. Apparently, Rassouli and his accomplices, whoever they may have been, would have been rewarded with $1 million if they carried out this plot that would have seen the assassination, number one, of a journalist in France, we don't know who. Number two, an Israeli diplomat in Turkey, we also don't know who exactly it was. And third, a U.S. general stationed in Germany. Folks, we have to unpack this. This is major. Now, Rassouli admitted to the Mossad. They have him on video, apparently, confessing to this triple assassination plot. Thankfully, it did not unfold the way Iran wanted it to. Rassouli now apparently is in Iranian custody. I'm sure they have him in a safe house someplace guarding him. On the other hand, they're probably none too happy with him over the confession. He now says the confession was coerced. No surprise there. But once again, a daring Israeli Mossad operation on Iranian soil. No wonder you haven't heard much from Iran about this. Folks, the Iranian regime is embarrassed right now. This is only the latest in a string of daring Israeli operations on Iranian soil under the noses of the Iranian regime. Again, a huge black eye for the mullahs in Tehran. So they're not kind of boasting about this very much, or even threatening publicly, at least, to strike back at Israel because of this. Another reason, of course, not only the embarrassment factor, the hated Zionist entity got one over on the regime once again, but look, this plot involved a U.S. general being assassinated, which obviously has larger ramifications for the Iran nuclear deal, which, hey, Western leaders are trying to desperately revive that thing. More on that in a minute, but in the short term, why? Why a triple assassination plot against Israeli and American interests? The main reason, real simple, folks, and we've talked about this many times on the newscast, revenge. The Iranian regime wants to, in their view, avenge the deaths of, number one, Qasem Soleimani, the not so dearly departed terror master and Iranian general who was eliminated in a U.S. drone strike in January 2020 in Iraq. Number two, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, also a leading member of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, like Soleimani. Fakhrizadeh was the godfather of Iran's nuclear weapons program. He was eliminated outside of Tehran, again, on Iranian soil, reportedly by Israel in November 2020. So again, huge embarrassment, huge blow to the Iranian regime that they are looking to avenge. So in their view, okay, you killed some of our leading regime figures, we'll kill some of yours. And that's why you have a U.S. general, an Israeli diplomat targeted. Again, this also fits with the MO over the years of the Iranian regime, whether it was in Europe in the 1980s and 90s, assassinating Iranian opposition figures, whether it was Latin America in the early half of the 1990s, attacking an Israeli embassy there, and also a Jewish community center in Argentina, whether it was Bulgaria in 2012 when Iran employed a Hezbollah operative to murder several Israeli tourists there. And we've also had attempted attacks against the Israeli embassy in New Delhi, and around the world, Israeli, Jewish, and American targets have been in the crosshairs of the Iranian regime. This is one way that they lash out against their enemies, not in Israel proper or within the U.S., but against diplomatic interests, cultural interests, say synagogues, etc. around the world. That's how Iran operates. So this triple assassination plot certainly fits with their MO. And also, as we reported here in the newscast a few weeks ago, Iran, and this is according to the Biden administration, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC, is currently targeting U.S. officials for assassination. Now, that includes former U.S. officials in the form of Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State and CIA Director under President Trump, also John Bolton, who was National Security Advisor under Trump, and lastly, Brian Hook, who worked on the Iran folder, or portfolio, I guess you would say, under Mike Pompeo. All three have been targeted for assassination by the Iranian regime on U.S. soil, I would presume. And folks, that's not me saying it. It's not the Trump administration saying it. It's the current U.S. administration. President Biden's top man, Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, recently testified on Capitol Hill, yes, Iran is looking to assassinate current and former U.S. officials. All this brings us up to the Iran nuclear deal, otherwise known as the monstrosity in Vienna. Now, that Iran deal, or what's left of it, the talks surrounding it, have been on hold for the past 2 months. It looks dead in the water, but just as it looks like it's completely dead, like some kind of zombie or vampire, it rises from the dead, the Iran deal, and gets close to being resuscitated once again. And that's where I am concerned we may be heading right now, as European officials are desperate to salvage this thing. And we have top European officials just this week saying, hey, we have another chance. Yes, talks have been stalled, but we're trying to revive them. That's Europe. The sticking point for America, however, has been, you guessed it, the IRGC, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, they of the triple assassination plot that we're talking about. The U.S. does not, even Biden, does not want to remove, reportedly, the IRGC from the U.S. terrorist blacklist, and that's a good thing. Stay tuned. Again, every time it looks like the Iran nuclear deal is done, it's finished, there's some kind of last gasp attempt to revive it. Let's see if the Biden administration digs in its heels and sticks to its guns on that IRGC terror designation. Color me very skeptical, but we shall see. We know that Europe clearly wants this deal to happen. Hey, a lot happening in the world's most volatile and chaotic region, the Middle East. Again, a daring Mossad operation on Iranian soil. You can't make this stuff up, but it is happening now for such a time as this. Keep this situation, keep Israel, America in your prayers. Keep the free world in your prayers. Keep the people of Iran who are suffering under that regime, keep them in your prayers as well. And remember, there are some 1 million Christians living in Iran right now, many times worshiping in underground churches and targets of severe persecution. But if history has shown us anything, it's that you can't stop the gospel. Take that thought into your weekend. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Watchman. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.